I mean, government is there to help us. It's us, by the way. We forget that too often, that this thing that too many people criticize, it's actually us trying to do things well for each other. The Constitution starts we the people, not I the person, not this amorphous entity out there. My name is Jim Meffert, and I am, as Steve said, running for Congress in the 3rd Congressional District, and I am ready to beat Erik Paulsen. I have... Oh, come on. Seriously. We can do better than that, or get another round for everybody. Come on. A little bit about myself. I am the past president of the Minnesota State PTA. I'm executive director of a group called the Minnesota Optometric Association. I've been involved in nonprofit association management for 20 years, trying to actually keep people employed and trying to do good things. Much of that has been involved in healthcare. I've been involved in healthcare policy for the last 20 years, trying to figure out ways to fix this healthcare system. Part of the work that I've been doing with the PTA has got me involved in child advocacy. I was chair of a group called the Minnesota Children's Platform Coalition. It was a group of 80 it is a group, I'm still on the board of it, a group of 80 child advocacy organizations that have tried to figure out how to put better structures together to help kids and families, knowing full well that the home life that children come from, the safe place that they live, have a huge impact on their educational success and their future. And we don't do it well enough for our children. That was the work of that coalition, and it still is the work of that coalition. And I've got to say, everywhere I go, there are 140,000 children who live in poverty in the state of Minnesota. At the end of this year, there will be 180,000 children who live in poverty in our state. We cannot let that continue. We have to do everything we can to change that. There can be no options left anywhere untouched to change that single thing. That's the work that I was doing with the Children's Platform Coalition. That's one of the things that drives me into this race, is to see that we are not doing well enough for our children and their families. We have got to change that. We have too many children living in poverty, too many children depending on food shelves, too many children who are homeless right now. We have got to change that. Special ed and No Child Left Behind. First of all, special education funding. We have been making this false promise that we are actually, the federal government is going to live up to its obligation and pay for the unfunded mandate of special education. We have been paying since that, and this is a 30-year promise. It's at 17% now. The promise is 40%, I believe. We've been borrowing for all sorts of adventures and misadventures around the world. We've been borrowing for so many things, but we have not been able to maintain this one commitment to public education, which is to make sure that we are actually helping fund special education. We've been leaving that up to the state and leaving that up to the local government to do when it's the federal government that tells districts what to do. If we pay for that one thing, it frees up a lot of resources in our local school districts to do a lot of things for gifted and talented education, for arts education, all kinds of things. But it's insane that we've been finding ways to pay for other stuff and borrow for things, but not fulfilling this one simple commitment that we've had. And I'm going to change that. I'm absolutely committed to changing that. NCLB. First of all, it's ESEA, it's Early Secondary Education Act, which was co-opted into No Child Left Behind. We need to change the way we look at schools and the way we measure success in our public education. The NCLB structure, the snapshot in time that only tears down public schools and tears down teachers, has to go. I was on the committee. Thank you for that. I was on the committee to put together this Race for the Top grant that the state submitted, and we were trying to put together a framework that actually looks at how children progress over time, and putting data systems together that don't have one simple snapshot, but actually look at how children are progressing over time. Something that can actually help teachers teach better, and something that can actually help parents get more involved in their schools in a constructive way. That needs to be a federal change. That needs to be a change in the law right now. We need to find ways to build relationships between parents and teachers focused on real student progress, rather than the system that just tears down public schools. I've sat in too many meetings with parents as the head of the PTA where parents are just criticizing teachers and schools because of the test score. Because the test score looked like they were failing them. And these are places like Edina. And these are places like other communities in this state where we have some of the best public education in the country. In these schools, the system has just torn people apart. We got to get rid of it. Absolutely have to get rid of it.
Hey, Dee, is there any real chance that you're going to get a shot at affecting the health care reform before your 10th term?
The question is whether in the next 20 years we can get a shot at affecting change.
It's either going to make it before you win this election, or it ain't coming up for a long while.
Well,
or do you disagree with that? I mean, I'm not trying to as much argue the point as just your feelings. Your thoughts.
No, I am. Let me start with that. First of all, we're not going to fix it with one bill, ever. So we're not. I'm hoping something gets passed before I get there. First of all, because the biggest problem to fixing the healthcare system is that we've been in the starting blocks for a century. We haven't even gotten out of the starting blocks. Right. We haven't gotten past the starting line. I mean, this isn't getting to the finishing line. This is starting to put some sort of structure in place that we can begin to make really difficult choices. The things I talk about, right, just talked about, those are really tough things to figure out that some people don't like and some people are going to lose from. But those are the kinds of difficult discussions that we need to have that may be easier to have once we get a framework in place. Once we get that first bill passed that everybody's looking at right now, once we take that real public spotlight off and roll up our sleeves and figure out how to get the rest of it done. So the question is right now, first of all, let's get something done so that we can, over time, fix the rest of it. Now, if we don't pass something right now, it's probably not going to come up to my 10th term. That's the other challenge, is if we don't take this opportunity to pass something, we've blown it again. We've got too many people who are barriers to progress in Washington, and Erik Paulsen is one of them. In the 3rd District, and you may not know this, but in the 3rd Congressional District, we've got people who voted for President Obama. He won by 6 points. Amy Klobuchar won by 13 points. We have more DFL legislators in the 3rd Congressional District than we do Republicans. We've got people who voted for the things that we believe in right now. We are going to connect with those people in this election. And when I talk about the work that I've been doing, trying to improve the lives of children and families, and trying to improve this healthcare system, with Erik Paulsen's record of just standing in the way of the things that we believe in, improving this economy, fixing our healthcare system, actually improving public education, they're going to come and vote with us again. That's the message that we are going to deliver. Let me paraphrase that question in a different way. How are we going to hold those people in the 3rd District who have already voted, the majorities, who have voted for Obama and Klobuchar and DFL legislators? We have to frame it that way. We have to understand, and when I got into this race and started looking at those numbers, frankly, they were positively shocking, I think, to all of us when you start digging back even into John Kerry numbers and you start looking further backwards than that. We just have to tell them they haven't finished the job. They started it. They voted for hope and change, and they voted for the things that we know need to get done in this country. They've done it a number of times. They just forgot to do it in one race. And so we're going to talk about the things that they voted for, that they supported, the kinds of things that bring us together, strong communities and good, solid public education, and fixing problems that actually help create jobs, like the healthcare system. Things that do resonate with these communities that people have already voted for. And we're going to remind them that they helped elect somebody who's just a distraction and just a roadblock to all the things that we've already voted for. And the other part is to not let them sit home. And everybody you know who lives in the 3rd Congressional District, you tell them to get off their butts and get out there, because if they just sit home and complain about things, things are going to get worse. Things are not going to get better. So that's the other part of that message, is to get them remotivated and get them energized and get them to realize that the hard work that we thought was in 2008 actually happens now. It's in 2010. This is the hard work. And if we don't get out there, and if we don't motivate and get these people out and connect with what they already believe and voted in, we're going to lose it all.